Have you ever wondered what would happen if all the chess.com beginner bots played in a tournament together? Well, that's exactly what I've got set up here today. So as you can see, I've got my bracket with all the bots, starting with Martin, 250 rated at the top, going all the way down to Kareem, 850 at the bottom, and we have a few other 850 rated bots as well. Martin actually receives a bye in the first round, which is really good news for Martin. That gives him a great chance of progressing a little bit deeper in this tournament. So without further ado, we're going to get into that first game, Oliver versus Milica. Let's see how that plays out. Okay, so here we have the start of the game. We have Oliver playing as white and Milica as black. And Oliver opens with d4. We have d5 in response. And then Oliver is starting to place his pawns on the dark squares, blocking his dark squared bishop in. Okay, Oliver really doesn't like light squared pawns. Okay, there's one. And we have a knight to the rim from Milica. Milica takes a little bit of space with the pawns. The knight's kicked out, and the knight comes in. And we have a trade of the knight for the bishop. And Milica's pawns are very far extended, but Oliver has very little space other than on the light squares. And what the heck was that? What the heck was that move? And Oliver punishes the bishop sacrifice, whether it was an intentional sacrifice or not. We have a lot of pawn moves from both players. Milica tries to see if Oliver will hang that bishop, but he doesn't fall for it, and Oliver has a little bit of a lead here. He brings his rook to a2 in true grandmaster fashion. We have another knight to the rim from Milica. And for some reason that king decides to march back. I don't know why. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Milica is trying to break her rook out. Oliver develops his knight finally. Milica goes rook c8. Oliver's trying to open the position now. He's gaining a little bit of ground finally on the light squares with his pawns. And look how strong his dark squared bishop is. That is an absolute monster of a piece, lasering right through Milica's position. And we have an amazing tactic there. Oh dear. And Oliver gives up his queen to create a new queen and then loses that queen, but he's still ahead in material. Oh my goodness, he's hung his rook. Oliver was looking so good and just hung his rook, and it's checkmate. 1-0 Milica. What a comeback by Milica. I really didn't expect that she'd be able to come back after being down material. But this is bot chess, so what do you expect? Our next game is a little bit of a mismatch. We have Philip, 400 rated, versus Mina, 700 rated. So Mina the clear favourite for this fixture, but we'll see how it plays out. Anything could happen. Okay, so here we have the start of the game. Mina is white against Philip with black. Mina kicks off e4. Philip responds e5. We have an early queen move from Mina, trying to create this little trap here. If Philip plays g6 to try to kick the queen away, then he's going to lose his rook. And that is exactly what happens. Mina's able to take that rook now. But Philip plays a Giga Chad move, blocking in that queen. So at least the queen's in jail for now. Okay, we have some logical developing moves from Mina. And Philip decides to take that e4 pawn that the queen was eyeing. Mina blocks with the bishop, not wanting the bishop to be captured. And what the heck is that? That is probably the worst move of the tournament so far. Philip trading his queen for a bishop. That makes absolutely no sense. Mina recaptures. I don't exactly understand that move, but there's not really many good moves for Philip in this position, so it's better to just try to survive. And here we go. Mina takes that bishop. 2 pieces were hanging there. The knight's able to block and defend against that checkmate. And we have another weird sacrifice from Philip, probably just trying to delay getting checkmated. And Mina, instead of taking the knight, decides to move the king in order to probably mobilize that rook. And there we go. Trying to exploit the pin on that knight. There's not many ways to defend this knight. And here comes this other knight trying to be a distraction again. It's quickly gobbled up. And then Philip tries to make a little escape route for his king. The knight's captured. The king is running. We have a little bit of a play here from Mina, exchanging the rook for the bishop, which creates this opportunity to capture the other rook. So big brain moves there. Philip's king is getting hunted. Mina's just gobbling up some of that remaining material and preparing to create a mate net, tying up all the loose ends. Here comes that knight. Can it be the hero? It can. Great checkmate there from Mina. Well played, well deserved. Not the best match from Philip. I was expecting a little bit better, but he is only 400 rated, so we'll move on to the next match. So Mina was able to take that match pretty convincingly, but we actually have an even bigger mismatch for the next one. It's going to be Juan 400 versus Zara 850. Okay, and here's the game. We have Juan with white and Zara with black, and let's see how it begins. Okay, Juan opens with one of the worst openings I've ever seen, F3, and Zara responds with the equally atrocious F5, and we have a trade of pawns in the middle. Zara manages to take a little bit of that weak space with a pawn push, and then for some reason her rook is brought out. Juan does not capitalize. We have king F7 for some reason. Queen F to F3 check by Juan, activating his pieces with tempo, and then the king goes back. Oh my god, what is with these guys? And just having to send it with the queen. Why do you have to sack the queen every single time? Anyway, we'll continue on. That rook's finally captured there. The knight takes back. Rook to A7 from Zara. Definitely going to have a lot to do there on that square, that rook. We have E6. Possibly trying to damage Zara's pawn structure, or who knows. And Zara moves away. Another knight to the rim move. And we have another knight to the rim. Why do all the bots have to send their knights to the rim? Okay, Zara's brought the queen out. More king shuffling. And that rook is toast. King to E2. Zara doesn't see it, or chooses not to take. Who knows? And finally she takes. Two knights are hanging there. Zara takes with check. We have king to D2 again. Queen to A2 check. King E1. King H8. H3, G3, and Zara decides to promote, and that's chopped off by the rook. And in comes that knight. It's chopped off again. We have a check, and that king is running. That king is thinking, I'm going to get out of here. Precision from Zara trying to take that bishop. What the heck is that rook doing? That is the rook that never was. Rook F8, offering a rook sacrifice, which Juan gobbles up. We have a check. Zara's trying to... What the heck is that? Another rook sacrifice. Just trying to slow things down, clearly, Juan. There is no clock, though, so no point. It's unclear whether Zara's trying to set up a mating net or move the pawns. I think she's not really sure what to do. And in come the pawns. It's a long game, this one. And here comes that final pawn promoting to another queen. And looks like Zara's finally about to set up the mating net. And here it is. She gets the win and makes it through to the next round. So next up, we have the biggest mismatch in ELO so far. We have Fabian 250 versus Santiago 850. And based on how those 400 rated bots performed, I have a feeling we could be in store for some Ooga Booga. Okay, welcome to this game. We have Santiago as white and Fabian as black. And here we go. E4 from Santiago, followed by A5 from Fabian. A little bit unusual. Santiago takes the center, very principled. Nice development there from Fabian. And we have pretty normal moves so far. We have a knight going to the rim. And we have the rook going to the B file. Interesting. And we have a trade of the bishop for the knight. Probably not recommended because that bishop looks quite strong on that diagonal there. But luckily, Santiago can put his pawns on the dark squares, so no problems. I always get a little bit nervous when I see those bots line up their queens with their bishops. And both sides gaining a little bit of space. Santiago sacrifices a pawn, but Fabian sacrifices back a whole knight. Santiago's trying to grab a little bit of space on the queen side, and he's got a passed pawn now. Fabian moves his rook over to the c file now. Trying to work out where those rooks might be most useful. And have a little bit of shuffling. And what the heck is that from Fabian? Giving up an entire rook for no reason. And Santiago decides to give up a bishop. He doesn't want to win too easily, clearly. And here comes that pawn. But Fabian's able to find the resourceful rook a8. Santiago's bringing that knight into the game, eyeing that c5 square, which looks like a nice outpost. And here we go. Santiago promotes his queen. I don't know why Fabian moved away from that square. Maybe he wanted to try to create a pin on the e2 knight, but he's got to prioritize. So we have captures. Santiago is now up a fair bit of material, and he brings his knight into the game. Just developing every piece. Oh my goodness, that is the move I was talking about. The bishop is going to take that queen. Can Fabian see this move? He does. Good lad. It's equal again. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, Fabian. No. Fabian, you did not like this. And Fabian is absolutely dead lost here. There's very little chance of a comeback. That is a great move from Santiago. Noticing the bishop's pin. He snatches up that pawn. And Fabian decides to sacrifice his bishop. He's trying to run those pawns down the board. Santiago blunders a rook, but he's still up heaps of material. Fabian promotes to a queen, but Santiago chops it off. And here we go. Can Santiago finish the job? He gets another queen. Gradually works Fabian's king to the side and delivers that checkmate. Good game from Santiago. Fabian looked very good initially. He managed to come back, but unfortunately his elo was just too low to figure out what to do. So Santiago's through the next round. So a close fought game there between our highest and lowest seed. And now we're on to the next game. Alani versus Aaron. And this is an interesting matchup with elos. There's not a huge gap, but Aaron should be the clear favourite. So let's see if he can come out on top. Okay, and here we are. It's time for the next game. We have Alani as white and Aaron as black. We have e4, e5, knight f3, d6, very principled. And we have a little bit of a kind of a Sicilian-ish kind of structure here with the pawns. And Aaron is putting all his pawns on the dark squares. And Alani seeks to take advantage of that weakness of structure. And neither side has decided to chop that pawn up. No one's noticed. This bishop comes in with a check, taking control of those light square weaknesses. And it goes back. Rook comes up. That rook comes up, kind of defending the pawn. And the queen is tucked away on a2 by Alani. Alani brings a knight in. And great move from Alani there, placing some pressure on Aaron's queen. The queen moves out of the way, and here comes the knight. And I don't know why you wouldn't take with your pawn, but we have an equal trade of material. And that bishop has perished. And what the heck is that? Why would you... This is a 700 rated bot. That is negative IQ right there. So Alani is well and truly back in the game. She's actually got a big lead now. So can she see it out? She gets more material. That is insane. This is a huge lead from Alani. Surely she can't blow this lead. Oh my goodness, in comes the queen. Okay. That probably wasn't needed, but she's got such a big lead in material. Surely it doesn't matter at this point. And she's blundered a rook. But she's still in the lead, and she's blundered another rook. I don't think Alani's winning anymore. I think she's in trouble here. Oh, she's regained the knight. But Aaron has a little bit of a lead now. He's up a full rook. What can Alani do up here? Can she find any drawing ideas? She manages to pick up the knight. A little bit of a comeback here, but Aaron's pawn is marching down the board, and it looks very difficult to stop this pawn. And sure enough, the queen is made from the pawn promoting. And great move from Aaron there, taking advantage of the pin knight. Check and checkmate. That was probably one of the most bizarre games I've ever seen. Alani was up close to 20 points of material at one stage. That is insane that Aaron was able to come back there. But what a match. So Aaron was just able to come back against Alani's initial huge lead. And next we have Noel versus Jun Jae. So let's get into that game. This match we have Noel as white and Jun Jae as black. We have a4 from Noel, an unusual choice, and h4, so clearly favouring some wing play and the typical h2 rook move and the typical knight to the rim move. So nothing new from these bots. And Jun Jae is doing a good job of getting the pieces out, offering an early queen trade, which Noel accepts. And the best move here would be to take en passant, not allow this pawn structure to form, but Jun Jae doesn't do that. Noel's developing his pieces nicely here. We have a5, rook to g2, trying to make sense of that rook, king to e7, and the rook moves back for some reason. Okay, we have a random bishop sacrifice from Jun Jae. I don't know why you do that, but here we are. And Jun Jae plays rook to a7. And Noel decides to sacrifice the bishop right back. Doesn't want to make it too easy, clearly. We have rook to f2. That rook now has an open file. And rook to h7 defending the f7 pawn. We have rook to c1. And a offering of the rook on a6. Noel doesn't accept it, instead developing his rook to the f4 square, and the rook moves back, reconsidering the decision to sacrifice. And we have an completely unnecessary move from Noel. He just wasn't patient enough to build up his attack. He just wanted to do something, and that rook is gobbled up. So now Noel is down 5 points of material. And Jun Jae is just developing gradually now. Gradually trying to improve each piece. Or shuffle the knight around randomly. Either one of those. And there goes Noel's knight. King moves out of check. And pawn is sacrificed, allowing the knight to come into the game. And that rook is still trying to figure out what to do. Nice move from Noel there, giving his knight an outpost. Check from the knight. And we have a little bit of shuffling. Tempo on the rook. But the knight is now stuck in the corner. Instead of going back to the nice outpost, it's going on a little journey into the black position. And Jun Jae decides to just give up a knight to allow that knight of Noel's to come in, but she's still up a full piece and some pawns, so it's not looking good for Noel. Jun Jae's pawns are trying to move, and and Noel is just down to a knight now, and now he's down to nothing except for 2 pawns. So surely Jun Jae can wrap this up without too much fuss. Noel has managed to get 2 connected passed pawns, but Jun Jae's pawn is motoring, and Jun Jae can even offer up that bishop in order to break up that pawn chain just to be super safe. And that makes no sense. At least take the bishop. Maybe Noel was hoping she wouldn't see that promotion. And here we go. And Junjay manages to cut off Noel's king, brings the king in, and then delivers a very swift checkmate. Despite the expected few minor hiccups, Junjay was able to knock over Noel, and now we have the final matchup of the first round, Wayne versus Karim. Okay, and here we go. We've got Wayne as white and Karim as black. We have e3 from Wayne, and it looks like Wayne is one of those guys. Just trying to weaponize that queen early on. Not exactly recommended, but Karim is smart enough to block that pawn and not play the G move that we saw before. And Karim is striking in the center, building a very nice center. And now he can play G6 because the E5 pawn is defended. And that queen has gone all the way back. We have H5 gaining space from Karim. And bishop to G4 placing pressure on the queen, which Wayne is able to block with F3, forcing the bishop back. And Karim is opening up that center now. Here comes the queen. He's got a double attack on the D4 pawn and also a check. Rather than taking though, Karim goes back, playing it safe. Here comes A5, putting pressure on the bishop. The light bishop there is... It can actually take on D5 now that the bishop has moved. So the bishop isn't trapped just yet. We have rook to H3. Wayne. Will Karim see it? No. He moves back. Knight to A7. That makes no sense. Queen take... Karim. Karim, I thought you were better than this. You do not trade your queens for bishops. Wayne sees it. He takes that queen back. Wayne is in the lead. The 250 bot is 6 points of material up against Karim. This would be a huge upset. He's just shuffling around at the moment. But Wayne's looking pretty solid. He hasn't done anything ridiculous in the last few moves. Offering a trade of knights, which Karim accepts. The more pieces Wayne can trade off the board, the better chance he has. He's pushing pawns. That blunders a bishop by Karim. Will Wayne see it? He doesn't. That would have been a decisive advantage, surely. Karim gets his bishop out of trouble. Wayne's on the move now. Wayne attacks the bishop. Karim moves, attacking the rook. The rook slides back. And G5, lashing out with the pawns. And Wayne has blundered the bishop. Karim has also blundered his bishop. The queen moves up, attacking the rook. And the bishop's chopped off, but the rook's chopped off. Wayne extends his lead in material. F5. Oh my... Wayne, you're 11 points up. At least he takes the C2 bishop. So it's still possible for Wayne. He's got 5 points of material up now. Brings his rook to D1, the least active square possible. The king slides over. Oh no, Wayne sacrifices the knight, but at least it opens up a file for his rook to be active. We have A4. A bishop sacrifice from Karim. Can Wayne capitalize on this? He chooses not to, maybe valuing the blockade of the black pawns more highly, but here comes knight takes F3. And Wayne blunders the rook. But will he get it to safety in time? He doesn't. Looks like Wayne is going to bottle this match. But it's still possible. Anything's possible. And that really just puts the icing on the cake. Wayne had the most convincing lead against a bot, 600 points higher. And he's down to nothing. And it's only a matter of time before Karim, with the attacking flair, will be able to polish that off. King H3 puts a nail in the coffin, and Karim checkmates Wayne. The last chance of an upset in round one has vanished. And here we have the round 1 standings. We have Martin and Milica progressing to round 2. They'll be facing off. Then we'll have Mina and Zara, Santiago and Aaron, and Junjay and Kareem. So there were no upsets in terms of elo, but there were certainly upsets in terms of the match play. But luckily the higher rated players were able to use their experience to grind out wins. So we'll see, can Martin take down Milica? Martin is occasionally capable of brilliancies, so I'm hoping to see more of that from him.